Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we are cranking the spice level up to 11 in the Open Master League as I'm trying out my newly built level 50 Overheat Galarian Darmanitan. Now Galarian Darmanitan is not a Pokemon that should ever be used for the Master League. It's mainly used as a raid attacker, but I am not going to let that stop me. So today, I ran Galarian Darmanitan in the Open Master League, and among other things, actually managed to have a 4-in-1 set above Legend Elo. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's check out the Snowman in the Master League. Hopping into the first match, we see a very tough lead, leading Zacian into Landorus, safe switch into the Palkia. Opponent does not throw their energy, instead they try and go for an Aqua Tail catch onto Dialga. But going for that catch and failing it gives me a massive energy head start. I get to land the Spatial Rend, and my opponent here is short of the energy needed to make it to a Roar of Time. So I can no-shield the Iron Head, go for the Aqua Tail, and unless my opponent shields, they're going to lose Switch. They let it go and have one switch advantage, which is amazing, but they farm down with Landorus, and Landorus with energy is bad here. Stone Edge would easily one-shot. I have to try and call a bait, so I no-shield. It's the Sandsear. That does so much damage. Darmanitan is so frail. Oh my goodness. I commit the shield in the back. It's a Lugia, and this game might actually be winnable, which for this team, losing a lead should basically just be a death sentence. So this is terrific. I'm going to farm up a ton of energy. I don't want to debuff myself just yet, so I go for the Play Rough, and I'm able to get a shield from my opponent. Since I haven't debuffed myself, if they go for the Aeroblast or not, I can still survive it. They full send the Aeroblast, and now I can start spamming out these Wild Charges. Wild Charge number 1 fired at the Lugia. Lugia with a decision to make, going to no shield. I'm going for Wild Charge number 2. The Dragon Tails, now that my defense has been debuffed by 4 stages, are going to add up, so I switch into Darmanitan. It's a simple switch into the Landorus. Back in comes the Lugia, and I'm going for the Overheat. I didn't TM on Overheat for nothing. Overheat, little bit of bad manners, KOs the Lugia, and we take the win. Moving to the next match, leading Zacian into Mewtwo, another bad lead. This is not a lead matchup that Zacian wins in any shielding scenario. So my goal here is basically just to play this out as best as I can, and then try and get farm on one of my back Pokemon. Psystrike connects, dealing heavy damage. Zacian does get outpaced here. I will fire off this Play Rough before they're able to get their move. The Play Rough will connect. Opponent, very nice job over farming. If I let this go and send in the Palkia, they can make a Psystrike. So I'm just going to play to the ones. I'm going to fire off the Wild Charge. I'm really hoping they shield here. If they shield, it's honestly very nice for me because the Mewtwo is going to be in farm down range and they're not going to be able to get a move on whatever I send in. I know that Ice Fang has absolutely horrible energy generation, so I may as well get an energy head start on Darmanitan. In comes Darmanitan, opponent sends in Dialga. I'm going to throw 8 Ice Fangs and then wait a turn and get a catch of an Iron Head onto Palkia where it is going to be resisted. The Iron Head, that's not going to do a whole lot. In the back, it's Landorus, and this game might actually be winnable. Landorus will fire off the Sandsear Storm. I'm going to look to overfarm as much as I possibly can and then go for the Aqua Tail. But the Aqua Tail has been debuffed by the Sandsear, which means this might not KO. The Aqua Tail connects, the Landorus hangs on, and that is really bad. I'm now going to be double debuffed. My only hope is that I can get to a Spatial Rend and my opponent for some reason shields. I cannot get to the Spatial Rend. It all comes down to, do they trust their counts? The Aqua Tail gets shielded, the switch into Darmanitan, and against all odds, back-to-back bad leads mean back-to-back wins. Overheat, good night to the Dialga, and we take the win. Dialga's back in the next match, and this one is shiny as well. Even though I don't have close combat, I still really like this matchup as the Zacian. I do find that this Quick Attack Wild Charge Play Rough moveset really feels to be the best of the Zacian movesets at the current moment. You don't have close combat for the Dialga, but you still need 2 moves to knock out anyway, and having the Play Rough coverage so your Zacian can actually beat Palkia is quite nice. I'm going to go for the Play Rough. If they shield, I'm just going to save switch into the Palkia. I send in the Palkia. Opponent throws energy early here, so this cannot be a Roar of Time, but I second guess my counts at the last second. But the opponent has no response to my save switch. They send in Avalugg, which is not a good response to a Palkia whatsoever. The The Aqua Tail will connect, dealing some very nice damage. Now that a move's landed, they have no reason to Icy Wind. They should just go for the Rock Slide as it does more damage, and they do. So they do make the right call. I'm going to overfarm with the Palkia and play to charge attack priority, which I know Palkia is able to win. Palkia, Aqua Tail picks up the KO. In comes the Dialga. I'm trying to make it to the Aqua Tail, but I do not get there. I'm sending in Darmanitan and praying it's a flyer in the back, and it's a Landorus. The prayer is answered. Look at Landorus, one of the most meta Pokemon in the Master League, getting deleted by Ice Fangs. Get that Pokemon out of here, and we take another win. We now move to game number 4, leading Zacian into Yveltal, an incredibly good lead. Opponent is going to save switch into Lugia, and oh my goodness, they are completely core broken as they have 2 flyers. I have a Wild Charge Zacian, and I have a Darmanitan in the back as well. I'm going to go for the double Wild Charges. The second Wild Charge doesn't quite KO, but it will get them very close to getting knocked out, so they commit the shield. In comes Darmanitan, and I am going to respect the potential Aero Blast. This thing has no bulk, and I get the shield call right. That means I think I can Ice Fang all the way down. Go Darmanitan, and Darmanitan does get the farm down. I exit with energy. Having Ice plus Fire means that I can hit most things in the meta, and they send in Yveltal. Yveltal, this is going to be interesting, because if they're sending this in, they could potentially be weak in the back. Yveltal overfarming quite significantly. I'm going to commit the shield, and then I can fire off the Avalanche. They switch. It's a Xerneas. I'm going to bank energy on Darmanitan and send in Zacian. I could have potentially gone for an Overheat there, but I want to save that Overheat because I would love to Overheat that Yveltal. Avalanche is super effective, but I have Overheat on this Pokemon. I may as well throw it as many times as I possibly can, right? So I go for the Wild Charge, and now I'm going to go for an Undercharge on the Wild Charge because I actually want the Xerneas to be able to knock me out. So I will go for the Undercharge there. My opponent actually lets himself get farmed down. Yveltal exits with energy. Here, my Darmanitan actually does win charge attack priority, but I didn't want to risk one turn bring in, so I can just send in my Palkia to absorb the energy, and then it's Overheat time. Overheat, massive damage, knocking Yveltal out of the sky, and we're 4-0 in this set. There's a bit of a surprise on the lead in game number 5, leading the Zacian into Giratina Origin. Now, Giratina, a Pokemon that has definitely seen its usage fall off as Palkia and Landorus have risen, because it's just a very tough matchup going against those Pokemon. They shield up the play rough. I'm going to no shield, and then I'm just going to look to send in Palkia. As Palkia, up energy does very well. I had to check and see what they had in the back, and they have Dialga. Okay, this is not terrible. They're down a shield, so I'm not going to bait. I'm going to go straight for the Spatial Rend. Opponent double shields, and that's very unfortunate. If I baited, I could actually get to a Spatial Rend. As we see there, I do make the Aqua Tail. I didn't click it because I didn't think realistically it was going to help me all that much. I tried to commit to another Spatial Rend, but I just could not get there. I send in the Zacian. They Roar of Time me for some reason. So after a lot of bad manners in terms of overheats, I'm now the one on the receiving end of a bad manners Roar of Time from the opponent. They go for the Iron Head in the back. Oh, they're double steal. They have Melmetal. Come on, Darmanitan. I know this isn't same type attack bonus. Let's see the Overheat. Massive damage onto the Melmetal. Melmetal barely able to hang on and return fire with a Superpower. Superpower is going to limit the farm, and that's a problem because Giratina has energy. In comes the Giratina, and unfortunately, no 5-0 set here as Giratina will secure the knockout with the Shadow Ball, but the 4-1 set somehow takes me back above 3,100 elo. We move to the next match, picking up a pretty decent lead, leading Zacian into Ho-Oh. Now this is a pretty okay matchup for the Zacian, as Zacian will be able to spam out these super effective Wild Charges, but the unfortunate thing is that a Wild Charge does not one-shot here, so I'm going to have to go down a shield if I want to get rid of the Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh will go for the Brave Bird. They're one away from their next charge attack, so through 2 quick attacks and go for the Wild Charge. Opponent, they can shield if they want to get this final charge attack off, and they will. And now I have a choice. Do I shield the quad debuffed move? No, I'm going to let it go. I can send in Darmanitan. Unfortunately, my game lags by 1 turn. I should not take Incinerate damage there because 4 turns of damage should KO before the 5th turn of their fast move. They send in Dialga. This is looking very, very dire. I'm going to fire off the Avalanche. Avalanche into Dialga does get shielded. I need Palkia to be able to sweep in the back. Palkia, this could be a Draco Meteor. I will respect it. They do go for the Draco Meteor in the back. It's a Xerneas. It's just hard counter, and I resign the match. Moving to the next match, leading Zacian into Palkia. Okay, a very, very good lead for the Zacian. Opponent save switches into Landorus. I could have potentially sent in the Darmanitan, but I decided to send in the Palkia instead. Palkia, of course, is better able to tank charge attacks than Darmanitan, because Darmanitan is probably just getting fully one-hit KO'd by a Stone Edge. The Aqua Tail will get the shield. They're going to have to Stone Edge if they want to knock out here. So I'm going to call it. They go for the Sandsear Storm, and this is actually a slightly underpowered Landorus, which is going to work in my favor, because they're going to have a very tough time farming down here. I can actually nearly almost make another Aqua Tail. I send in Darmanitan. The Ice Fang goes through. I'm going to shield in case they do go for the Stone Edge. They go for the Sandsear Storm. I'm going to get the farm down. I am debuffed, so when they send in Palkia, I'm going to switch. And in the back, they have Metagross. And this is a little bit awkward. Metagross, honestly, a Pokemon I haven't seen too much of as of late. Normally, it's Solgaleo. But the nice thing here is, since it is the Metagross, is I should be in a pretty good position. Because Metagross will get knocked out by double Wild Charge, so now I can just look to overfarm quite a bit and go for this Wild Charge. Wild Charge will be able to knock out, and I've overfarmed enough that I will be able to make a Play Rough versus the Palkia. They send in the Palkia. I can make it to the Play Rough, and this will be game over, as this just does way too much damage. Opponent had to try and hope for a farm down through my debuff defense and leave with a Spatial Run for the Darmanitan, but they're unable to do so. We've got the same leads in the next match. Okay, this is great. Zacian into the Palkia. Palkia, of course, does have a pacing advantage in this matchup. They're going to fire off their charge attack right after I made the Play Rough. Aqua Tail will connect. Zacian going for the Play Rough, looking to put pressure onto the Palkia. Play Rough does get shielded up. This opponent looking to protect the Palkia. They save switch into Mewtwo, and unfortunately, I don't have an amazing response available here. So I will fire off the Wild Charge. Opponent should fire off the Side Strike before I make Wild Charge number 2, but they miscount. They don't fire off their energy. That's actually kind of nice. The Wild Charge will be shielded. They throw instantly. They could have potentially farmed to back-to-back Side Strikes, but you know what? We are very okay with that. And now I can send in the Palkia. I can just go for a one-shield farm down here, but I decide, you know what? This is a Darmanitan feature. I'm just going to send in Darmanitan. Darmanitan getting the farm down. What do they have in the back? It's Dialga, and suddenly I realize that I've thrown this game. I've saved all my shields for Darmanitan, and I'm just going to get knocked out with fast moves. The Overheat does massive damage, but in comes the Palkia. I don't make the Avalanche, and I just don't have enough HP here. My opponent can go straight Aqua Tail since they have a move on their Dialga and win. I no shield. They end up going for a Spatial Rend, but whether I shielded that or not, unfortunately, I lose because I just didn't use my shields. If I shield the Palkia, that's a very straightforward win. Tough lead and tough swap in the next match, leading Zacian into Landorus. I save switch into Palkia, and I'm met with Lugia. This is way worse for Palkia than getting met with Dialga, because at the very least, Dialga does have to respect a Spatial Rend, whereas Lugia does not. Lugia, despite the Sky Attack nerf, still an incredibly threatening Pokemon. I can get very close to another Spatial Rend, but I'm not quite able to get there, and my opponent's counts are perfect, as they do not commit the shield. I send in the Zacian looking for some energy, because I'm going to need energy to try and get rid of this Landorus. But Landorus, often paired with Palkia, I think about switching out, but I decide against it. I'm just going to fire off the Play Rough, but if I switch now, I'm going to get debuffed, so I'm going to hopefully wait until they throw some energy, but my opponent does a very nice job of over-farming to make sure that if I switch, they're still going to get a Sandsear onto my Mon. I'm going to farm up, fire off the Wild Charge, losing charge attack priority. I'm going to shield in the hopes that they shield back. If they shield back, then I have Darmanitan in the one shield, but still, Darmanitan is probably getting fast moved down by a lot. They save 2 shields for Dialga. No, Darmanitan, not like this. I have one win con, and it's the Overheat. I'm full sending the Overheat. Maybe the opponent gets cocky. They try and call a bait, but they do not, and Darmanitan gets farmed down. The 4-1 set was absolutely beautiful, but now we're coming back down to earth a little bit. But hey, another good lead. Zacian into Palkia. I did lose the last Palkia lead, though. And this Palkia, like the previous ones, is staying in. So it seems like a lot of Palkia teams are not necessarily building strong towards Fairy leads, which is wild because Palkia does get destroyed by Fairy types. They're going to land the Aqua Tail. I fire off the Play Rough. They're going to commit the shield. this next Aqua Tail does not KO, so I can actually choose to no shield here and then make it to another play rough. My opponent, of course, does have an ability to catch. I'm pretty low, so I just fire off the move instantly. So it was a pretty easy catch for them if they went for it, but they don't. And now with 2 shields up, I'm just going to send in Palkia. Opponent switches into Zygarde. Wait, that's not a Zygarde! What is this doing here? I haven't seen a Garchomp in ages, since Premier was out, but that is an Open Master League Garchomp. Spatial Rend KOs. Come on. Send in some. No, they quit before I could show the Darmanitan. Oh, no. All in all, I had a ton of fun getting to run Galar Darmanitan. Overall, I did actually go positive with it. I had a 4-1 set to start and then a 2-3 set after. So 6-4 overall, I will absolutely take. Galar Darmanitan, I believe it's a very good raid counter. So overall, powering one up is not a bad idea, just if you're looking for a raid counter. As far as the Open Master League goes, we definitely see its limitations. Ice Fang is a pretty spectacularly terrible fast move. It just is very, very slow with energy generation. A move update I'd love in the future, I don't know if it learns it in the main series, but something like Powder Snow could be really nice. So that way, the Darmanitan is actually able to get to these charge attacks quite a bit faster. But man, I had so much fun with this team. The 4-1 itself was actually on stream, and it definitely felt like I had plot armor during that game. That was just unbelievable as Darmanitan kept cooking in the end game. And yeah, I really like trying to find anti-meta Pokemon that can just shut down a particular Metamon, and in this case, just getting to absolutely ruin Landorus's day with Ice Fang and ice moves in general definitely made it worthwhile for me. But as I mentioned, not a mon I'd recommend for use in the Open Master League if you're looking to gain elo, because this thing, it is so frail. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.